individually to find out their stories, to see if there were any backstories. I had performed with Lou Pratz in the past. I met with him. I knew he worked in a court. I knew he could get us, footage in a courtroom, and I thought that would be interesting to hear about. And then he tells me about being Red Button's nephew. And I'm like, oh my God, like that is so interesting. So that was his choice, my choice for him. And we had somebody else chosen, and the day of shooting, the guy ghosted us. Now, we had paid to rent cameras, we had a venue, we had a crew, we had security, we had a production assistant, and this guy just didn't show up. And so Bernie Collins, who is the mission or minister, is a dear friend of mine, and I knew she had a very interesting background. And I called her up and just said, can you get here? Like, can we please use you? Sure. And so she ended up being one of the most interesting people with one of the most interesting backgrounds. Mitch, I found through that comedy class. Rich Walker, who is one of the teachers, he said to me, oh, I heard about your movie, I heard what you're doing. I have somebody you need to meet. And, very interesting, funny, has a great backstory. I mean, the fact that he climbed a building. He's right here, Mitch. Raise your hand, Andrew. He scaled the side of a building, kayaks, deafblind. I'm like, oh, right up my alley. So what I do for a living, or what I did, I was a special education teacher for children with autism for 32 years. And I started a school for children with autism, and that's what I did. So this is so far removed from anything I've ever done. Yes?
Hi, the format of the film, did it kind of come to you as you were shooting? Because it's really great the way people wouldn't know that they're going to start talking about stand-up comedy.
Yes.
It's interviews, and it slowly came out, and the way you had Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, did that come to you?
So I come from a theater background. I do community theater, nothing big, but community theater. We build the sets, we make the, my husband and I do all of that. So I thought of the whole, doing it as a stage and curtains and in 3 acts. And the title came to me first, which is crazy because when I spoke to the director and the editor, they kept telling me, don't worry about the title, don't worry about the title. We're gonna. I said, no, but the title, By Day, By Night, working to make people laugh. I want to do occupations and then the carryover to stand-up. So that came first. And then the idea of breaking it into acts came while I was writing The Treatment, which is a whole nother story. Because I don't know what a treatment is. I had no idea. Yes?
I've had some background, working on comedy, recordings of stand-up specials and things like that. I thought the way you guys portrayed the stand-up was very raw and it felt very real, like you were very in the audience. What influenced the way that you edited it and filmed, the stand-up section of the third act of your film?
Really just, we had 5 cameras. This is the 11th cut. And yeah, so it took 11 tries to get it right. We had one of the stumbling blocks, we had way too much footage. And I'm sure anybody who's made a film, we had 6 hours and change of footage that we had to get down to an hour and a half. And there were some shots that I did not like in motion because watching stand-up specials, being a stand-up comedian, filming myself, I knew what looked right. And so sometimes I had to convince the director and the editor, because we would meet together to do the editing, that it just didn't look right. So it's funny you said that, just from my background of doing stand-up and filming myself. That's where we thought of those shots. Yes?
Well, let me ask you this question. Is there anything that those 6+ hours that you had that you regret that you were not able to put into the film?
I can't even remember all the 6 hours anymore, so I don't know what I would regret, not using. I think we picked just the right things. There's nothing I would change as far as cutting anything. There are things I would change in the movie itself. I don't like the white background with the 2 people speaking. That made me twitch, even seeing it now. The credits make me cringe. I wanted them faster, but that was a battle I didn't win with the editor and the director. And I still say, can't we just make them faster? And they're like, we're in picture lock, which I never heard that term before in my life. I said, all right, but can't we go one past picture lock? Like, what does that mean? And so those are things I would change. That, and there's a noise in the green room, and that made me twitch. And even watching it today, I just cringe. But that would mean I would have to call all 5 people back, redo, wear exactly what they wore on stage, and recreate that whole ending part. And just forget it. We have to let some things go.
I didn't hear any noise.
Ah, yeah. Nice one, Mitch. Good one. Yes.
Very good job.
Thank you.
I like the fact that you took people from kind of a dark area of work, at least more human comedy, and you brought them into comedy, you know.
Yes.
And I saw the Mark Twain slides, which clearly says that you need to take chances. You need to really, you know, move in some place where you can't really see. But does that apply to your life? Is there something that you could share, an event in your life that would want to make you make this film and make that statement?
Well, it's funny because many of my colleagues as comedians say, oh, you're in the movie, right? And I'm like, no, it's not my story. It's about, you know, my vision. And in a way, it is about me, in that I was a special education teacher. I worked with severe and profound, you know, physically disabled, cognitively disabled people from age 5 to 21, and who had behavioral concerns. I had my jaw dislocated. I had my elbow broken. I've had my hand, not any disrespect. I had tough students that I worked with, and I loved them dearly, and I loved my job. And I ventured out and did exactly what the movie said. I tried something new, which was stand-up comedy. I used to present, I'm a professor also, a college professor at St. Joseph's University. Currently teaching a class now, I really should be grading papers. And, and I took that leap of faith and tried something I had never tried before and found success, and, you know, in my own way, not successful success, but I enjoy it. I get paid for what I do. I perform, you know, a lot, and I enjoy it. So I did what the movie said go do. And then the film itself. I've never made a film in my life. The way it all started is I came up with the concept, and I knew 2 young men. That one young man I've known so long. This is how long I've known the director. I was sitting in my office, and my colleague ran past me, and I said, where are you going? And he said, Sarah's having the baby. And that was the baby, is John Selecchia. So that's how long I've known John Selecchia. And I knew he went to school to be a filmmaker and to direct, and he worked at a TV station, he's worked at editing, he's done movies and things, and so I called him. And I said, John, I got a great idea, and I have ADHD incredibly. I'm all over the place, and he said, Claudia, one idea, one theme, call me back. I was like, wow, okay. And so then I spoke to him about the idea by day, by night, and he said, write a treatment, and I'll meet you. Sure. And I hung up the phone and Googled what is a movie treatment, because I had no idea what a movie treatment was. And then there's a specific movie treatment for a documentary. So then I had to go online, and I found a class that I could take on how to write movie treatments for documentaries, and I sat in front of the computer and I took the class, and then I did Ken Burns's master class on making documentaries, and I just learned, you know, and I figured it out, wrote the treatment, came back to him, he read it and said, I'm in. And he said, you know, I have like 2 cameras, we'll rent 3, I have 4 friends, great, let's do it. And that's what we did.
Any other questions? The audience?
Yes.
So, watching the comedy, obviously this was shot like during COVID. How did that influence your shooting as well as the material that your comedians were working with?
Yeah, so it was shot in 2022, so it was actually a little after, you know, all of the pandemic and the lockdown. But there is a lot that was cut, some of which, was not timely anymore, so we cut some of that. And some, believe it or not, had some political things that I felt, you know what, we've always been taught from a comedy standpoint, you don't want to get too political because you divide your audience. And, you know, half of them are going to be with you and half are going to hate you. So things like that we cut out. But there were a couple of COVID things that were a little too, specific to us all being in lockdown. And my hope was to, in 2024, be showing this, and it would be a little too far away, to include. And I learned some things. I didn't realize I didn't have to black out the tie. I thought you couldn't have, first time.
What was it?
It was like Family Guy or something, it was some, but I didn't know that we could, it was some sort of, or, I don't know, Speedy Gonzales, it was something that I thought, oh, we don't have a trademark for these things. And then I come to find out, oh, that's old school. You could put anything in a movie nowadays. I said, really? And I bleeped out the F word, because I thought it would limit my audience if I had that in. And then I was told by filmmakers, why'd you bleep out the F word? And I said, I don't know, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor, I just, and they were like, no, you could still show that in different places. I didn't know. I didn't know. Exactly, not all places. And not all audience would have, I could see some people maybe cringing, so I bleeped it. But there were things I learned that I didn't know. I assumed we had to do these things.
I'm just glad it wasn't because it was an ugly tie.
No, there was a trademark on it, and I was like, oh, I don't think you can do that. And then I come to find out, oh, are you kidding me? People put Coca-Cola cans and this and that, and I said, oh, well, what do I know? I didn't know. So, yes.
Just an observation, I think you've done what many of us have done. You started life in a capacity, in one direction, in an occupation, but there's always something inside us extra that needs to come out. And you've done that
Thank you.
very well.
And that was the message I wanted from the movie. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted people to be inspired when they watched it to say, okay, maybe I don't want to be a stand-up comedian, but I always wanted to be an artist, or I always wanted to be a singer, or I always want, go do it. Go try it. It's never too late. Yes.
Great film. I just was gonna say, I teach acting to special needs community too, and I love how you brought, and we used to work at a place to deal with, not deal with, but help the clientele of group homes. And like you said, you were had whatever happened to you. It's very rewarding work. But how did you think about? I love the dichotomy of all of the stress a job can bring, and you take it home with you. And did you decide comedy would be how to feel better with your own life, or not feel better, but get a break from it, or it was some other?
So I used to do staff development where I would train people, and as a professor, I have 3-hour courses. If I can't make my students laugh and have fun, it's torturous for them and myself. So I needed to do that, and so I felt that I had that in me, getting up and being funny, and I have little jokes that I insert when I teach and things. And so I said, I think I might be able to do that. And so when I got that brochure, I was at a fundraiser at one of the comedy clubs. And I'm watching the stand-up comedian, and that's when I said, I'd like to try that. I think I could do that, but I want to learn. And so that's how it all started. But I think, yeah, the dichotomy, and that's what I wanted to show in the movie, of the stress. I mean, some people said, I didn't even know there was adult protective services. I know there was child protective services. I didn't know there's adult I said, there is, and it's very stressful. A psychiatrist from Bellevue, doing stand-up. I thought, Ellen, that's like crazy. I met her and I was like, that is a great story to tell. And then to hear Mitch raising funds for, hearing aids for people who can't afford it. Help America Here, go to this website, donate. It's a great organization. And, I started meeting these people, little plug, and saying, this is a great story to tell. And I wanted to tell it.
Claudia,
Well,
let's
thank you so
give
much.
her a big hand.